So by now, everyone, if not everyone, at least most people, excuse me, outside, would have seen the video of George Floyd and how he had his neck beneath the knee of Officer Derek Chauvin, or should I say ex-police officer of ex-Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. So basically the whole case started with the police being called to the scene whereby George Floyd was in a convenience store, grocery store, sorry, and he was trying to pay for something, and it was alleged that he tried to use a fake $20 bill or note, as we would call it here in the UK, to pay for the goods, whatever he was paying for. And later on, the police were called to the scene. But by that time, Mr. Floyd was already in his car, and he was dragged out of the vehicle and taken out of the car, and the whole case ended with Mr. Chauvin having his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck. And very quickly Mr. Floyd starts pleading for his life, basically, although he doesn't say in those terms, in those words. He's pleading that he can't breathe. His whole body hurts, his stomach hurts, arm hurts, chest hurts. His body's been starved of oxygen. He's been more or less been strangled there. He starts pleading for his mother, and as I read in the articles, although I don't really fully trust what's saying on social media, but this has been confirmed in other places. Mr. Chauvin had his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck for at least 8 to 10 minutes. Now they say in the news, in the articles, that Mr. Floyd was pronounced dead at the hospital, but clearly you can see that once Mr. Floyd has taken his knee off, once Mr. Chauvin has taken his knee off Mr. Floyd's neck and starts to drag Mr. Floyd's body towards the ambulance. I'll say body because at this point he's clearly, clearly Mr. Floyd is dead. We can see as he's been dragged to the ambulance, his body's lifeless. It's gone completely limp. So for me that footage was awful, it was just harrowing, and it will stay with me for the rest of my life. Now this incident did happen last week. When this now, as I'm calling this video, is Saturday the 6th of June. This happened just around the end of May. So I do understand that I'm making this video pretty late, but I was hearing about what had happened in the US, and it was only until about 2 or 3 days ago I actually went back and watched the footage of what happened, and I fully understood what all the commotion was about. It was horrible. What happened there was murder, cold-blooded murder in broad daylight in front of everybody. By people who who have taken an oath, who have been sworn in more or less to serve and protect in the US, the American public, and they ended up abusing those powers, and they killed someone. And looking at the whole situation, that the officers could have handled the whole matter in a completely different way, but of course Mr. Chauvin chose not to. And from what articles are saying, I think it was 4 of them that were involved. The rest were holding the rest Mr. Floyd's body down, while Mr. Chauvin had his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck. But I think 2 of them, particularly Mr. if I'm correct, I've forgotten his name now, Thomas Lane. If I get that name wrong, please correct me in the comment section. He actually was, I think, a relatively new police officer. I think from what I read in the articles, he was on his, I think, 2nd or 3rd day as a police officer, and he was just following the orders coming from Derek Chauvin. Now another thing I want to point out is that this particular police officer, Thomas Lane, he does have, from what I've read in the papers, in the online articles, he does have a lot of family members and extended family members working in many the police departments, in the US. So when I saw that, it did make me think, suddenly that naturally they will not want to serve the whole sentence, of course, because they know what they've done is wrong. They're all involved, they're all complicit in the poor man's death. But of course they know when they go to prison, they're going to get a very, 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 hellish time that, other inmates are going to treat them very badly, basically. But when I heard that he has lots of family members working in police departments, it did make me think. Make me think that he could possibly try and worm his way out to at least achieve or to get a lesser sentence, even than the other remaining 3 police officers. So that did made me think that potentially he could do that. So another point I'd like to make is the protests. I agree with the protests. We've even over here in the UK, we've had a few protests over here in London, Manchester, up and down the country, as something that has really sparked outrage across the whole world, not just in the US. But I do not agree with the looting and the vandalism of public property. You do not have the right to take anything or to take anything or take something that does not belong to you. It reminds me of the riots we had here in the UK in 2011 when a young man known as Mark Duggan was shot. That did spark protests, but soon that spilled over into opportunists taking advantage of the situation and basically vandalising property, breaking into stores and shops, and just stealing, basically. I remember hearing stories of some people breaking into a store that we have over here known as JD Sports, which is almost the equivalent of Foot Locker, which I'm sure many people in the US will know of that particular brand. I heard of some people actually breaking into the JD Sports stores and actually trying on trainers as if they were shopping on an ordinary day. People break into electronic stores and stealing TVs and laptops and just other places, just causing havoc and mayhem everywhere. Now, those sorts of people, definitely, I believe that they should receive the full force of the law, because the message of the protest is that what happened was basically injustice, how this man died. And there are many other cases of how people have been maltreated by the police, and those cases unfortunately have not made it to mainstream media, which is why we have never been made aware of other similar of other similar stories and other similar incidents happening, whereby the police have been clearly in the wrong. So yeah, the protests I agree with, but the vandalism and the looting I do not agree with. That does annoy me, and such people should be punished severely and harshly. You're just making life hard for the other people who are out there and who have the right to protest and to get the message across and to vent out their frustration, not by damaging property or by looting or vandalizing property, but by just by making their voices heard. That is what I mean. So yeah, I just thought I'd make my opinion known on this matter, because when I saw that video, I was really shocked, and it really drove home the message to me of the slogan Black Lives Matter. Now, I do understand that when that slogan was brought about, especially around the 2016 US election, whereby when Donald Trump got into power, there were protests about Black Lives Matter in the US, and light protests here in the UK, but I didn't take it too seriously then. Now, however, it does have a whole new meaning, because we have seen in broad daylight an innocent man being killed. He was murdered it was cold-blooded murder, basically. You watch the footage, you watch the video, and you can see the police officer clearly knows what he's doing. You can hear George Floyd on the ground there practically pleading for his life, and still he does nothing about it. He more or less waits until the poor man is dead before he takes his knee away, and they carry his lifeless body into the back of the ambulance. So I just thought I would make that point clear. Now, of course, this is not the sort of video that's made in circumstances whereby you asked for likes, or it's not the sort of video that for people to enjoy it, because it's based on something serious. But if you did like the video, please do leave a like, and please do subscribe. Thanks.